So I just finished recording a video where I start using this blog post, implementing from scratch an MCP server. By the way, I had at the time of the recording no prior knowledge of MCP, so I started from scratch, just using whatever information I found in this blog post. In order to create an MCP server for Backstage. Backstage, by the way, is a framework open sourced by Spotify for creating developer portals. What I have here in my screen is a Backstage installation I have running in an OpenShift cluster my team uses. What we are seeing in this screen are a couple of Backstage templates which can be used in order to bootstrap new applications. So the idea of that recording was to create an MCP server that would allow external tools to talk to Backstage and implement support for bootstrapping those templates. So for example, my end goal was to use Goose by block and using chat and natural language to tell Goose spin up a new Quarkus application using Backstage and having the whole thing work. That video ended up being an hour and a half because, as I mentioned, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, so I thought that maybe I could re-record the whole thing now that I have an understanding and code the whole thing from scratch. So let's go. I'm jumping to my terminal and I will do Quarkus create command because I will be using the Quarkus MCP server in order to bootstrap a new app called Backstage MCP. I will be using REST Client Junction. You know what? I think that I don't even need those. I just need the MCP server stdio, and once the project is created, I will go inside. I will open the pom.xml, and there I will add an additional extension which is currently not part of the extension catalog, so I will have to add it manually here, which is the Backstage extension. And I will be, oops, no. And I will be using version 0.4.1, which I think is the latest. And I should be good to go. Let me build project. So, or maybe let me run package because some people complain about me using MVN install all the time. So I'll build the app just to make sure that everything is fine, and then I will reopen the project and go to my source directory, and I will create a new class called org acme backstage. I will use the main template, and I will just make that application scope, I think. And I will create a couple of methods. First one, string. It will return the name of the available templates, list templates. And for now, it will just return 1, 2, 3, Okay, that will be the first, and I would also need, by the way, let me re-enter just so that I can make sure that my LSP server is working correctly. Sometimes I get issues with new classes and LSP operations, so yeah, I will need to return that. And I will also need to use the tool annotation to specify a description, list templates. That seems good enough, or maybe list backstage templates is even better. Backstage templates. And maybe instead of returning a dumb list of skills of templates, maybe I could inject the backstage client. Let's see if that works. Yep, backstage client. And I could do something like client entities, list entities, filter entities, filter, and I will use as a filter kind equals template, and then I'm going to stream everything and get the name from the template metadata, and then I'm going to return that as a list. Okay, that seems good enough to me. Packets. Now, in theory, I could hook this to Goose and expect everything to work. Before I do that, I would just like to make sure that my environment is correctly set up. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to export a couple of environment variables for specifying the backstage token, and also the backstage URL, and I will use localhost port 7007. As I mentioned, Backstage is running in an OpenShift cluster that my team uses, but I'm using K9S, so I have port forwarded everything in port 7007. So in theory, I could do something like Quarkus backstage template list, and get back the list of available templates. Perfect, the command seems to be working, so now it's time to configure Goose. I will use the Goose configure command, and I will add an extension. It will be a command line extension. I will call that extension Quarkus Backstage MCP, and the command is going to be JBank. I will use JBank in order to execute the jar that we just built. I will copy the whole command from my clipboard, and it should be this one: home demo backstage MCP, target Quarkus app Quarkus run.jar. Would you like to add environment variables? Of course, I would specify the environment variables that I did earlier. Not sure if I need to, because I already specified them externally, but just in case. backstage URL http localhost 7007 and Quark. I got that wrong. No, I don't want another one. I will just open the configuration file and fix everything I need manually. So yeah, the environment variable is this one. Okay, let's try without environment variables, and we'll see. I will set it blank and we'll see how it goes. Go session. Please list the available backstage templates. So it executes the list templates command, and the response we got back is Quarkus REST client, Quarkus chatbot, Quarkus application, and Quarkus quick start. Okay, since I have the environment variables set up for this cell, I don't need to add them to the configuration. However, it's a better approach, and it is much better if I do, because then it will work globally. But for the sake of this demonstration, I will leave it as is. Let's verify that indeed we have 4 templates in our Backstage installation using those names: Quarkus Quick Starts, Quarkus Application, Quarkus Chatbot, and Quarkus REST Client, which seems to be correct. So I will exit, and now I will try to implement functionality for instantiating the template using MCP through Goose. Before I do that, I would like to show you how I would do that using the command line, and I would use the command Quarkus Backstage in Backstage template instantiate, and I would specify a values file which contains the values for all the parameters the template defines. So usually when I choose a template, I'm prompted to specify some values, for example, name of the app, the version, group ID, artifact ID, Maven coordinates in general, things like the endpoints that I want to expose, key to configuration. Well, it all depends on the actual templates. Each template specifies its own parameters. However, when I want to instantiate that using the CLI, where I don't have access to a UI like that, I need to specify a YAML file and of course the name of the template that I will be using. So if I run that command, what will happen is that behind the scenes, that command will go to Backstage and do what I asked it to do, but it can't find the file that I specified, and most probably because the path was wrong. And now that I specified the correct path, which is my home directory, it worked. Template instantiation completed, so now I can go back to my home and I can see my newly created app being created and registered as a component and also as an API, which is really cool. I can also click view source and go to GitHub and see the repository that was just created moments ago. Back to Backstage, where I will unregister that component, because now I will try to recreate it through MCP, and I will also need to delete the repository on GitHub. So now I should be set, and let's jump to the code and implement the thing that we need. So let's go to Backstage and create an additional method that will call public string create project. We do need a template name, and we also need values file. I'll use the tool annotation in order to provide a description. Description equals create a project, a Backstage project using a template. Arguments: tool arg, name, description, not name, description, template name, that seems correct. And I will also need an additional tool arg with a description, path to parameters file. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the client, return client templates with name, template name, instantiate, and I need to specify a value here. I need to specify a map. So how I'm going to get the map? The map is going to be a map string object and values, and I'm going to use the serialization utility provided by Backstage, Quarkus Backstage extension, in order to unmorsel values file. I will use path of values file, and then I'm going to use a new type reference, not type resolver, type reference, type reference. Of course, my imports don't work. Java util map is the one. Import Java neo file path, and the last one is import. By the way, I don't need that. Import com faster XML for type reference. I think I also need to deal with some typos I made. And it still complains about type reference. Let's jump here and search for type reference. Maybe I got something wrong. No, it seems correct. Cannot infer. Okay, it's not it cannot resolve it, it just cannot infer the arguments. Okay, my bad. I should pay closer attention to the error. And I think that despite what my LSP server is saying maybe if I just build it, it will work or not. Yeah, I forgot the map, so I will jump back here and I will map serialization is not possible. I'm not sure why. What happened? Serialization, unmorsel. Oh yeah. This needs to be converted to a file. Yay! Now we are set. Sorry for that. It took a little bit longer than expected. Let's build the jar, and now we should be ready to jump back to our Goose session. Before I do that and create a project, let me try to verify that no component is currently registered on my catalog. Yeah, nothing there. So now I will do a create a new project using the Backstage template Quarkus application. So it lists the templates and it just say that the template is available, but it didn't correctly create the template. Not sure why. Let's exit and let's try to see if our prompt is correct or if our prompt makes sense. Oh yeah, maybe we will have better luck if we specify both parameters. So create a new project from Backstage template Quarkus application using values file home UCaml templa values YAML. It seems there is a slight typo in your file path. Could you please confirm, or should it be home UCaml? The latter, please. And now it correctly executes create project method. It uses Quarkus application as a template name and as a values file the home UCaml templa values, and we get a message that the project has been successfully created. Let's see what we get here. I'm refreshing, and correctly I have my app created. Everything seems to work as expected, and I can click on the API too, check the definition. That's amazing. And of course, again, I can click the view source and see what I have created on GitHub. So let's summarize. In this video, I went through the process of creating a Backstage, an MCP server or an MCP plugin for Backstage. That plugin is able to list Backstage templates and also create new projects using that templates, and I hook that to Goose. Goose is a very nice utility which among others supports MCP servers, and I used Goose in order to create a new Backstage application and verify using the Backstage UI that it worked as expected. The only detail that maybe I forgot to share with you is what's the template file that I used. So the template file is the file that contains the values, which are pretty much the default values that we've seen when we tried to use the template. So what we see here, the options that we see here are the default values of all those options are listed in this file, and we can get that from the Quarkus Backstage CLI, Quarkus Backstage template info. Show default values for Quarkus application, and we pretty much get the exact JSON with the default values that we need to do. And with that, I think that we can wrap up this recording. There are so many things that are worth exploring and experimenting, and I intend to keep on recording videos like the one you just see. Till next time, enjoy, bye bye.